field are always wet with rain. After a summer shower, when I saw you standing in the garden, wet with rain. You wipe the teardrops from your eyes in sorrow. Yeah, we watch the petals fall down to the ground. Yeah, and I sat beside you, I felt the great sadness that day.
Hi everyone, this is Amelia Duran, your host in the Porthole to Justice. It is June 6th, 2017, and I am very honored today. I have on a guest. Everybody knows in the Porthole to Justice that we do 20 on 20 prayer and every month, which is 20 minutes of prayer and meditation on the 20th of every month. And I have a very special guest with me today. I have Govinda Tidball, the founder of 20 on 20. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Amelia. Hi, everybody. Good to be with everyone here today. God bless you all.
Yeah, so you started telling me, I started the Porthole to Justice, I think, around 2014. And shortly after, in the Porthole to Justice, I started doing promoting and doing the 20 on 20 campaign. And I've been promoting it all this time, and I'm just now talking to you.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, I think that's one of the things about the whole initiative was the fact that a lot of people understood how they could plug into it without, it's what I call like an open source initiative. Because if people understand the principles of it, then they can just take it and run with it. It's not like they have to, they don't have to come back and say, hey, can you approve this or can you? No, I mean, once people understand the basics and the foundation of it, they go for it. So that's exactly what you did. And that's really kind of the heart of what the initiative is, because it's people understanding that they themselves have a role that they can play, that they themselves have a contribution that they can make in some way, shape, or form based on who they are and their life and their role in society, and they can do something to be part of that solution and the ending of human trafficking. So we all can do something. I mean, it's no one can do everything, but everybody can do something, and you've been doing that. So very proud of you for that. So congratulations.
Yeah, I love the initiative. I love the website because I did go on to the human2020.com, and there's you actually have like buttons there where you can donate or you can participate in whatever capacity, and I love that about the initiative. So when did you start Human 20 on 20?
Well, the initiative itself was really the end of 2014, start of 2015, kind of it kicked off. And I think the push, and you've heard Zeph's show, and that's where like I will show up and pray, with him and with others, and you've been on that show as well. So that's kind of where we do our 20 on 20, and people kind of it's a big part of it is you approach God however it is that you approach him. Whatever it is that your background is, whatever it is that how you know him, and because this is something that's beyond human capability, so we have to seek the source, so we have to seek the creator. And for us as followers of Christ, we are asking for him to intervene in something that is contrary to his kingdom and something that's contrary to his plan and his purpose for humanity. So, he came to set the captives free. And so when we go in and when we engage in something like 20 on 20, what we're doing too is collectively we are coming before our Heavenly Father. We're bringing something before him that is contrary to his kingdom, and the reason and the purpose that Christ Jesus was manifest on the earth was to destroy the works of the devil. So we're bringing that before him as ambassadors of Christ and making that known before the king that this is something that needs to be resolved. So one reason that we do it on a monthly basis is it's a place marker. It is a deliberate commitment, and there are scriptural precedents for this. One of them is the one of the persistent widow who kept asking for justice from the judge. And, this was an unjust judge that she kept going back to and kept asking for justice. And because of her persistence, he ended up acting on her behalf and ended up taking up that case. So how much more so for the children of God that are in line with his plan and purpose, that are bringing something before his throne, that are asking him to intervene and to establish his kingdom and his plan and purpose on earth. So the whole thing has come together in just this beautiful way, and it keeps growing and growing. And for me, this whole thing as it started, it's kind of like you just start with what God puts in front of you, and it will become what it needs to be. So, we just have to trust.
You are just so amazing. It's so beautiful, the messages that you deliver. And we were on 20 on 20 together, and I came after you in prayer, and I was just floored. I didn't know what to say because your prayer was so powerful. But I want to say something. We've been doing this prayer 20 on 20 since probably 2015, and we did get some answers in a very, very huge way. The President of the United States announced that human trafficking was going to be one of his platforms. And I just want to say, I just want to witness that that for me was a huge answer to my prayers.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've seen, see, this is the thing too, we've seen a lot of different things happening in a lot of different spaces. Some of them have been reported on, and some of them have not been, honestly. Some of them are things that are going on behind the scenes, under the radar, but they will come forward and they will be manifest in the future as well. And what we are seeing is we're seeing that God is moving in response to our prayers. We've seen so many things that have been revealed and exposed and brought out and brought to the light. And this is just that God is responding to his people. So, I in the end, for myself, I'm very grateful, that God just kind of pulled me in. I'm humbled, but that I would have, that he would just have given me a small piece to play in this whole thing. But the thing is that this really is something for every child of God to be engaged in. And the other thing too is when we looked at this, even in the early stages of how big and how expansive everything was, you also realize too that it is going to have to be God doing something supernatural, in alignment with his people and having his people engage and do certain things, because we would not, even if somebody gave us $150 billion today, we couldn't stop this, because even if you could match the spending of all these organizations and go up against them head to head, you couldn't stop it, because this is something that is beyond all of that. Even if we had 10 times the budget of them, we couldn't stop it. Because so on a human level, so this is something that it requires the hand of God, the engagement of him in this. So this is where we're going straight to that source. And I believe that's also too why the devil has worked so hard to try to discourage people, to discourage them from engaging and from digging into this, from looking at this, or realizing where the solution can come from. So for us too, when we do certain things, we do them because we recognize the source. Everything is birthed in the realm of the spirit, and then from the spirit, then it goes into the natural. And that's why we just want to have ourselves aligned in the right space so that we can do the part that God has for us to do while we're here on the earth as human agents.
Yeah, and for me, Govinda, I came into this as a survivor of, my son personally, he ended up in the system for 2.5 years when he was about 8 months old. And I realized how corrupt the system was, and I needed answers. And I started researching, and I came about the ICMP, which is the International Index for Missing People, which was founded by Bill Clinton. And then I learned about the American Safe Families Act, which was initiated by Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton in 1997, which places like a bounty on our children's heads. And then I learned that they had started placing CPS on every military base around the world. And I started researching this corruption, and I realized that it wasn't isolated to just what's going on here in the United States. It's going on all over.
Absolutely.
It's a worldwide issue. And
absolutely.
It's all of the corruption and the human trafficking, the organ trafficking, it all goes hand in hand. And it affects our children the most. And there's so many, when you lift the rug, there's just many monsters under there. You're like, ah.
Well, absolutely. And that's one thing, too, that we've been praying about. And that's one thing, too, that God is also doing. This is part of his larger move, which is this wave of light that has been coming in, that we're also, so this initiative is going parallel to also a huge move of God that's taking place too. And when light comes in, it exposes, it reveals all of these things that have been hidden in the darkness. The enemy loses half his power just as soon as he's exposed, because
Exactly.
So just things being brought out and being brought into the light makes the enemy lose so much power. And then the rest of it is like, okay, then we need to, once it's exposed, then we need to deal with it. We need to then move forward and move through and actually, and actually have a solution. So, my path, into kind of this entire world as well was, I kind of went through a little bit of a discovery process too, because I was in Sri Lanka so I ended up there after the tsunami in 2000. Well, I was traveling there on the date that the tsunami was happening. So I ended up being one of the first people to arrive in country, and I was involved in a lot of response work right away, just initially as a volunteer, and subsequently I was requested to work with a number of different nonprofit organizations and to engage in and support the disaster response there. But during the time that I was in Sri Lanka, and initially I was just going to be there as a volunteer, I ended up living there for almost 9 years, and I still am very much connected there, but I'm also stateside as well. But I met different people, and actually the first time I was approached to get involved with this at all was from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. And it was sort of like this ambiguous round table. They were wanting to, do some work in Sri Lanka, but they didn't really know what. And I mean, to my own, just how naive I was about the problem back then, I was like, is this even going on? What are you talking about? Because I thought the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in the States, that everything was good. I had no concept that this was actually going on, or to the extent of what it was. And because I also was working in the field of disaster management, and in different countries and different